Yo, welcome back to another podcast. Pulling my handicap card. And I'm Brandon.
And I'm Deandra.
And we are today going to talk about, I'm going to give you guys a story time.
Story time.
So, first of all, I want to say Happy Black History Month.
It's Black History Month. Yes.
Yes. And yeah. You guys enjoy it. You guys use some black-owned business products and support black businesses.
And support this black-ass podcast.
You better say it. All right, guys. So let me tell you about this time. Okay, so here recently, I thought I had another opportunity to kind of change up the narrative about people in employers in disability. So I work in the security field. I work for one of the alphabet boys. And I was looking for job offers. I wanted to change the scenery. You know, I just got married. I wanted to be, the alpha husband, do something different for my family.
As you already are, but okay.
So I just applying for jobs. I see something that says Kuwait. I see something that says Afghanistan. I see something that says Germany in the field that I'm in. So I applied for all of them. Kuwait hit me back. I talked to my wife about Kuwait. She was like, nah, bro, I ain't feeling it.
It's the wrong answer.
So after that, I went and applied for the one that said Germany because Afghanistan is just not where I wanted to be. Excuse me. And so after that, I applied for the one for Germany. And we go celebrate the new year. The weekend goes. And before the night before I got the phone call, I think I got it on January 4th. January 3rd, I looked at Deandra and I said, you know what? I don't think I want to apply for no more jobs overseas. Like, I really want to do this podcast because we had been talking about doing this podcast. I was like, I'm just going to quit. So I think the next morning I had got a call. Well, no, I took you somewhere and we had a snowstorm or something and it had canceled. Everything had canceled everything was delayed.
Yeah, like work and school and
right. So I took Deandra somewhere and then I checked my emails and I had an email from a recruiter and they were kind of just like, respond now. So I responded to the recruiter and I dropped Deandra off. I headed to work and the whole time I'm driving and kind of emailing the recruiter. So the recruiter finally calls me and says, hey, do you have time to talk? And I'm like, yeah. So I tell the recruiter that, hey, I have a disability because I've heard before that they don't hire, these overseas jobs are not hiring individuals with disabilities. The recruiter says, well, they hire a lot of amputees, so I don't understand why you couldn't get hired, and there's no physical requirements, so you should be good. So I go on with the process.
Let me interrupt, babe. So let me give y'all some perspective so that you can fully understand because Brandon's being real humble right now. This was a whole process. So you have to understand, okay, Brandon being 32, he's been working since he's 16. He's pretty much been discriminated against at every employer he's ever had, right? So here he is. He's made the decision, babe, I want to try for a position overseas. Why can't I do a position overseas? So it's like, all right, cool, let's do it. So he jumps out there. He's applying. Like he said, he tells me, you know what? I'm going to just chill out. The second he says, I'm going to just chill out, a recruiter reaches out to him. So it's like, boom, told you this was meant to be. Because obviously, as his wife, I'm in his corner. I'm cheering him on. I'm like, babe, we got this. You can do this. So this employer comes up and essentially tells him, like, absolutely you can do this. I don't understand why you couldn't. As he said, there's people over there with amputations. And if someone with an amputation who is missing an entire limb can go overseas and work, what problem would that present Brandon if he just simply has a disability? So I just wanted to kind of give some context and just talk about, like, we were super excited to hear this employer say, like, yeah, that won't be a problem. So
super excited. I mean, we're telling, our moms, we telling grandma, we telling my dad, her dad, like, we are really, like, making life changes. Like, I had a car that was kind of just sitting up. I sold my car. Like, I'm making a super life change to, get on with the get on. But before, I'm still kind of questioning the recruiter and trying to figure out, like, okay, is this really going to happen? And he's, encouraging me, yo, you can do it. And then I think, like 2 weeks before we were scheduled to go to training, because you do a training before you get sent off to your duty station. So 2 weeks before we go to training, they send a list out of things you need to pack and kind of a schedule of what you're going to do. So with the schedule, it was it said a PT test. And I'm thinking, I'm not saying I can't walk the mile and a half or run the mile and a half. I can't run the mile and a half. I'm just going to put that out there. But I could have probably walked the mile and a half. So I'm calling the recruiter like, hey, this paper say a mile and a half run. And he's like, oh, you can push through it. Like, you can fast pace walk. I mean, you got this. You can do the push-ups, can't you? And I'm like, yeah, I can do the push-ups easily. He's like, well, if you can do the push-ups and you're not fat, you don't have the extra fat, then you should be good. So I tell Deandra, we celebrating, we drinking, whatever, doing whatever we do. I think we were at La Straw House that night.
We were. We celebrated. I mean, and we fully prepared. Like, Brandon and his mom went out and she bought him a new pair of shoes. Like, if you got to do this now, you finna be comfortable. Like, we're not gonna. And so that was the thing. Brandon was like, man, this one thing could hold me up from going. And I'm like, no, baby, it's not gonna hold you up. Like, you got this. You're gonna do this. So we're making sure he is fully prepared to go in here and crush this, because once this is crushed, we out to Germany, baby.
We off to Germany. So as the week go by, the recruiter, I had some kind of paperwork that kind of stopped things. It was employment verification. Mm-hmm. So I put a title down that wasn't my exact title for a company, so they had to go and reach out to my employer and verify that I had the work. So that's the key part. They had to verify from a past employer that I've done this work, and somebody had to verify it. So after that happened, we they verified it. Everything got back on track. So they sent me a ticket to go to Moyock, North Carolina. I'm like, well, they done sent me here, and all my paperwork, I have spina bifida on all of the forms that asks about medical information. So with that being said, I'm thinking, okay, they sent me a ticket, so itinerary. So I mean, I'm in there.
We in there.
There's no turning back from here. So the day I wake up. We watched the
Wait. No. So let's back up. So they give him a ticket for Moyock maybe like 2 or 3 days before he goes. 2 days. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then they call. So in the communication, it says, do not put in your notice at your job because we do not plan to deploy you right away.
Right.
So that tells us, because you got to, like, I want y'all to really fully grasp what's going on.
I forgot about that part.
Yes, you got to fully grasp what's going on. So we're talking about my husband. Okay, we've been married 3 months at this point. Mm-hmm. My husband getting ready to relocate to another country for a minimum a year, maximum 3 years. Me having to stay behind, prepare our home, prepare all of our affairs so that I can move over there with him. And so that's kind of like why we sold the car, and like we made major moves, right?
We did.
Okay, so we're working through all of that. They tell him not to put in a 2-week notice. He's not going to deploy immediately, which for me, I'm like, yay, I can spend a little more time with my hubby. I'm preparing to slap in my notice. Like, I'm finna go with my husband. So they call him. I want to say it was like a day before he left.
No, it was the Thursday. The Thursday before they sent the itinerary.
Is when they called?
They called.
Okay, cool. So they called and they were like, can you leave for Germany the Sunday after you complete training? So training is from Sunday to Saturday. And essentially they were saying when you finish training on Saturday, we want you to leave for Germany that following Sunday. So like the very next day. Yep. So essentially he would need to like pack all of his stuff for Germany and take it with him. So I'm like, oh, hell no. But I'll let you pick up from there.
Yeah. So when I told them no, that, you know, I still needed to pack up and leave, give my job a 2-week notice, they're like, okay, well, what about February 13th? And I'm like, okay, that's 2 weeks, you know, well, it's actually 3 weeks, but it's enough time to give my job a 2-week notice. So
all indicators says that we going to Germany.
We going.
Yay.
No turning back from here. So I get to, we wake up Sunday morning. We say our goodbyes, watch a little Power. And then, you know, we leave off to the airport. Everything went well with the flight. I get there, I meet the other guys. The other guys, like, it was an older guy. Guy may have been 60, 65, somewhere around there. And it was 2 younger guys. So everybody's looking at me like I'm the problem, but okay, cool. So we go out to eat, and then we go to the campus for the rest of the night. We get up the next morning. They're like, be in classroom at 6:45. I walk in at 6:45 with the rest of the group. The guy's like joking and laughing and making jokes or whatever. And then he goes, well, here we go for, he's giving us basically what we're going to do for the rest of the week. So he's like, is anybody going to have a problem with running? And I mean, you guys got to run with the running for tomorrow. And I'm like, yo, I can speed walk it. And he's like, well, but that's not my department. I'm going. Now, hold on. I forgot to tell you guys this part. So when we were at La Strohaus and we talked to the recruiter, and the recruiter's like, hey, they can give you a waiver. They can waive anything. So going back to and I've never done this before, so I don't know nothing about no waivers. So I'm just thinking, you know, okay, well, the recruiter's telling me, you know, you're going to get a waiver and that's that. So going back to the classroom. So I was saying, I told the instructor, I'm like, yo, I'll just see if I can get a waiver. But, you know, if they don't give me a waiver, then I at least attempt to walk, you know, the mile and a half. And he looks at me like, that shit ain't gonna work. But he ain't say nothing. He was like, that's HIPAA. Like, I can't say nothing. So whatever. So we stay in the classroom and do like some paperwork for about 30 minutes. And then he's like, well, you guys are supposed to be at medical in 5 minutes. So we get in the car, you know, we all excited talking about what we're going to do when we get to Germany, whatever. So we walk in medical, and they're like, yeah, I hope you guys are ready for the run tomorrow. And, I mean, I'm just looking like, I just told him that. But, okay, cool. You know, whatever. Let me do my paperwork. They weigh me in. They write all the vaccines that, you know, they seen I've had and all the shots and stuff like that. And they're like, hey, you need to verify that you had the flu vaccine, or we need to give it to you plus like 3 or 4 other more shots. So I'm calling Walgreens, and at the same time, I'm noticing all the other people that's on my team going to the back. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, you know, maybe they're going to get to me. So the lady finally calls me back. And she's like, let me check your hearing. So she checked my hearing, and then they sent me back up to the front. And I'm up at the front, and the rest of my team is in the back. So notice I said my team, because there had to be about 50 people in there. So when everybody was out and my team was still in the back, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I know where this is gonna go. So
at this point, they've isolated you, basically.
Yeah, very much so. So my team starts to come up to the front. I'm laughing with them, like, hey, what was they doing? They was like, oh, we were doing this, like, breath, some kind of breathing, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. I ain't never heard of that. And the whole time in my head, I'm thinking, like, damn, I smoke cigars. So, I mean, I don't know if I'm being past that mug, but okay, cool. So finally, after everybody's back up front, they come and they're like, Brandon, come here. And I'm like, okay. So when I went back and we go to the left and everybody else was going back to the right, I'm just thinking, like, oh, shit, here we go. So she's like, sit down. And I'm like, okay, I sat down. She's like, I can't deploy you. And I was like, why? And she was like, because of your situation. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? I was like, I can walk the mile or whatever. And she was like, in your situation, I can't deploy you. And I was just like, all right, cool. So I went outside, I called the recruiter, and the recruiter's like, you just should have went in there and not said anything. You should have just did it. And I was like, yo, they didn't give me the option to do it. And he was like, well, I'm sorry, but we just can't go further. I was like, all right, cool. So I go inside and I tell my team that they're sending me home. And I was like, they didn't really give me the chance. And the instructor was like, well, you should, he was like, they didn't give you the chance, but even if you could have walked the mile and a half, we still have to do some tactical, training. So with the tactical training, I don't think you can do that either. So at this point, I'm pissed off because y'all telling me what I can do instead of actually letting me show y'all what I can do. Now, I couldn't have ran that mile and a half, but I definitely could have walked it. And with the tactical, I mean, I've done 4 years of Taekwondo, which they did not know about. But, I mean, it wasn't for me to broadcast, hey, I did Taekwondo. And, like, okay, cool. So y'all already made up y'all mind here. So somebody let me know when I'm going home. So I'm on the phone with them kind of, just trying to work out when I'm going home. But I mean, I guess that's pretty much the story. I got home and then I had to face, everybody, and not saying that nobody gave me shit about it or whatever, but it just was kind of embarrassing. It kind of broke my spirits that, I had to come back home and tell everybody that we got so excited for. We even had like a going away dinner, and now I got to go back home and face all these people because somebody else's expectations I didn't meet versus them giving me a chance, and then I fell in on my own, because I have a disability.
I think it would have been easier to accept if the opportunity was given, it was given to everyone else, for Brandon to attempt. And then, like he said, if he had failed, then it's like, okay, well, I tried, I wasn't able to do it this time. And that's cool. I'll try again next time. Like, maybe I'll train a little harder or whatever, X, Y, and Z. Yep. But the thing is that we went into this process very transparent and very
honest.
Yes, open, honest, upfront. The conversation came up so many times, and obviously when you go into these type situations, the employer doesn't know that you have a disability. So we're being upfront saying, like, before even paperwork was done, Brandon's like, hey, I just want to let you know I have a disability. Is this going to present any type of issues? And then when he did do the paperwork, he's disclosing on every freaking sheet of paper that you can. We're asking all the questions. When we see that there is a physical training, he's telling them what he can and what he can't do. So all indicators, even to the point that this company had purchased not one but 2 plane tickets for him, was that it's totally fine. You're going to Germany. And so again, from an HR perspective, I think honestly, I was more pissed than Brandon was because I knew the process was not handled correctly. And I just wish he would have called me like, yes, I'm that wife. Like, I am that wife. I would have got them all the way together. I would have typed up a mean ass email if I needed to, because the thing is, I'm not saying that they should have just deployed him. But what I am saying is that they shouldn't have taken that opportunity from him without going about it the proper way, which would have been sending him home. That's fine. But to his doctor to get clearance saying that he can or he can't do the job. So yes, taking a pause in the process, absolutely fine. But for them to make that decision is discrimination.
I don't even think my doctor to get clearance. You guys checked out my past employer. So if I was with this company and you seen I was with this company for 10 years and they gave you everything that you need stating that I can do this work, what's the problem? And the fact that your recruiter completely lied about the expectations, like you kind of play with everything. You kind of play with my livelihood. You kind of play with, my feelings. Like, you play with everything that you just shouldn't have done. I just think it was cruel.
And keep in mind, once they asked, can you go? And he said, okay, I'm agreeable to the 13th. We put in a notice at his current employer. I was in the process of something my job calls mass vacation. So I'm pretty much telling my job, hey, I ain't gonna be here, or I'm taking like a month of leave to go see my husband in Germany, X, Y, and Z. But to go back to what you were saying, truly from an HR perspective, yes, they did need to have that conversation with your doctor, because that's just protocol. They should have done it before they booked your tickets. It should have been, hey, we see this on your paperwork. We're not familiar with this. Let's just clear all our bases and make sure, everything is kosher. But to get you to that point and to not have any type of documentation or reason other than you walk through this door and I'm uncomfortable. Like, that was the main thing, is that you made them uncomfortable. Right. They didn't even give you the opportunity, like you said, like, yo, I can do this. Because I think you told me that they were kind of like, no, we don't even want you attempted.
Yeah, they didn't even let me attempt it. It was like, yeah, if you can do that, but what about the tactical stuff? And I'm just like, let me attempt it. Like, let me fail on my own. We done got to this point where I'm here. Let me fail on my own. If I fail on my own, then that is better than you just saying, okay, this is it. And I said that, and, I have the upper hand. So that's that.
Yeah, I feel like employers literally sometimes rob people of opportunities, especially those with disabilities. Like, it's not your place to tell me what I can and can't do.
Yeah,
it's just not your place. You don't know. You're not a medical provider. You don't know enough about me and my situation. And it's like with Brandon, I tell him all the time, people see him and they start to make assumptions. But what they don't know is when it comes to the world of spina bifida, Brandon actually has the lesser case of spina bifida. Like, when you see him walk, like, oh, he has some type of disability. But what they don't know is you're pretty freaking normal.
Pretty normal. I drive. I do everything that a normal person would do. And if I can't do it, then I'm going to find a way to do it. I have my own little way of doing things. And that just, it is what it is. It might not be right. It might not be your way, but it's my way. And I'm going to get the job done.
And what's wrong with that?
I don't know. You got to ask them.
Yeah, but like I was saying, I really think I was more pissed than he was. Like, he was very like, I remember he called and he told me, and he was just like, I just had to remember, not only am I the only black male in the room, I'm the black male with a disability, and we get a rap for being angry. So I had to calm down.
This handicapped black man is in here fucking shit up. And that's not cool. And you know what? It's so sad that I'm so used to being let down because having a disability. I felt it, but I really didn't even feel it. It was kind of like, yo, I'm more embarrassed for my wife now that she has to tell her family that, things have changed. Other than that, my family is kind of used to it, because as a kid, like, I remember me and my mom, which I'm going to have my mom come in and tell the story one day. Me and my mom went to sign up for Boy Scouts, and Boy Scouts wouldn't let me join because I had this physical disability. So
that's crazy.
It's more than crazy, but I mean, they wouldn't let me join.
Yeah. So, luckily Brandon is strong. Brandon has dealt with this so much, but it was almost kind of like, it was weird watching him go through the process because he's absolutely right. He really didn't have any emotion about it. He kept reassuring me that he was okay because I'm like, babe, it's okay to be upset, to feel some type of way. And he's like, babe, I'm okay. Like, this is kind of normal. But in my mind went to, oh my God, like I can't even imagine what he's feeling, what he's going through. Like, I hope he's not having, other people may have thoughts of suicide. They may just like give up on life. We have to think through, like, shoot, do I still have a job when I come back? Like, let me reach out to the job and see if I can come back.
Shouts out to Ben. Immediately I called Ben and I said, hey, I didn't pass the PT test, but I couldn't spend it, though. I couldn't tell the true story. I had to like spend it like they gave me a chance, because some people are willing to fight for people with disabilities. And I think Ben would have been like, oh, no, we need to talk about this. Mm-hmm. But I didn't even want to go there. I just wanted to get back home. Yeah. But in getting back home, I wanted to know that I still had my job. And Ben was like, man, listen, give me your resume and we're going to put you in for a higher paying job. If you qualify, we can get you in there. Give me your resume again. So, he was like, make some changes and, we'll get you in there. So I appreciate him for that. But I don't want anybody to feel bad for me. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. Just give me the chance that I deserve. Give me the opportunity that I deserve. Don't feel sorry for me. Don't feel bad for me. Don't go out your way for me. Just give me the opportunity to show you that I can really do what I say I can do.
I love that. Like, at the end of the day, let's just give everybody the opportunity. Like Brandon said on the last podcast, he's not asking for no handout. He's not asking for, even with Ben, like Ben said, if you are qualified for the position, that's absolutely. I'm not asking you to just put me somewhere just because. But what I am asking you to do is not to freaking rob me. Don't rob me of an opportunity that I should have access to.
Right. I agree. But, yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Send us some questions. BTDTTV
is gmail.com. BTDTTV@gmail.com. We'll work on getting some social media sites for the podcast, but this is Pulling My Handicap Card, where we're coming at you real and raw about topics within the disability community.
All right. We out here.
Peace.